utterly opposed for a number of reasons. First of all, it's congressionally undeclared. The Constitution is very clear. There should be a congressional declaration of war, and that hasn't happened. Not only has that not happened, Congress hasn't even been briefed. And so our elected officials have no idea what the policy is. Is the president telling us the truth when he says that this is going to last a few weeks? Because later in the afternoon today, he said that this could go on for months. And what's the goal? It's easy to start a war. It's easy to overthrow a government. It's very, very difficult to stabilize a region and then pull out safely. Did we learn nothing in Iraq or Afghanistan? So I'm gravely concerned about this whole thing. That tells me that they thought the entire Iranian government would collapse as soon as hostilities were initiated. That hasn't happened, and they're starting to worry about a plan B. Also, I learned just in the last couple of hours that the United Arab Emirates has 7 days worth of surface-to-air missiles left, and Qatar has 4 days worth of surface-to-air missiles left. Both countries have reached out urgently to the United States asking for replacements, and there are no replacements. So something's got to give.
These are countries that house American military personnel, and Iran is not attacking civilians or even government in those countries. It's attacking the American bases. Do I have that right?
For the most part, there have been a couple of Iranian suicide drones aimed at the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world that's in Dubai, at the Jebel Ali free port just south of Dubai, and then oddly at the port of Oman and a small town outside of Muscat. I'm not sure exactly what the reason for that would be, especially because it was the Omanis who were trying to negotiate a deal between the US and Iran. But for the most part, the Iranian targets are American military installations. Yes, in specifically the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates.
We know of 18 casualties, among whom are four fatalities. I don't know the status of the 3 American pilots whose jet planes were shot down supposedly by mistake by the Kuwaitis. I believe that they bailed out and landed safely. If they landed in Kuwait, they're probably safe by now. I mean, Kuwait is not going
to report
harm them or detain them.
Right.
Have you heard from publicly from President Trump or Secretary of State Rubio or Secretary of State Hegseth for a clear delineation of the goal of this war, or a clear articulation of a feasible military goal?
I have not, Your Honor. And I'll tell you, this reminds me very, very much of the run-up to war with Iraq in 2002 and early 2003, where all anybody in the policy community wanted to talk about was initiating hostilities, and there was no plan to get out. There was no plan to try to encourage a stable, popular government. It was just move in, overthrow, and see what happens next. And it's like history repeating itself.
What does the CIA have to do, if anything, with the initiation of these hostilities? For example, on Friday, when this war started, I guess it was Friday evening Iran time, or maybe it was Saturday morning Iran time, I think. Were there CIA agents on the ground in Tehran?
24 hours ago, I would have said that's ridiculous. But it's actually not ridiculous. The New York Times reported that the truth of what happened on the ground is the opposite of what we were led to believe. We were led to believe that the Mossad had the Iranian government utterly infiltrated from the top to the bottom. But the New York Times reported yesterday that it was actually the CIA that had the Iranian government infiltrated, and it was the CIA that passed locational targeting information on the Iranian leadership to the Israelis, that the Israelis then used to kill Supreme Leader Khamenei and former President Ahmadinejad and virtually the entire military and nuclear leadership. It was a CIA operation, not a Mossad operation.
How did the CIA know that the Ayatollah and his family were in his house at one time in one place?
Well, I think they knew a couple of different ways. First of all, Ayatollah Khamenei was actually pretty public with a statement that if the Iranian people didn't have bunkers to run to, that he would not run to a bunker. And so it was pretty likely that he was going to be either in his house or his office, which were both in the same compound. I don't think anybody could have guessed that his family would be there. I would have assumed his family had run, into hiding. But when the Israelis bombed the compound, they killed everybody. And it turned out to be Khamenei, his daughter, his son-in-law, and a grandchild. You have to wonder, the Israelis have bragged for years about the number of people that they've recruited in Iran. And most of them, at least many of them, were Afghan refugees. Refugees in Iran get nothing. They get no food, no shelter, no medical care, no nothing. And so if you approach these people and you say, look, I'll give you $100 a month to stand on this corner and write in a little book how often General so-and-so leaves his apartment and what time he returns and what route he took when he left, well, that's $100 you didn't have yesterday. That's $100 that you can use to feed yourself if you're a penniless refugee. And I think now that it wasn't just the Israelis that had these operations underway, it was also the CIA. When I was at the CIA, it was virtually impossible to recruit an Iranian. But the CIA was trying to recruit those people at the top, somebody in the Ayatollah's office or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, the IRGC. Maybe they learned a lesson that you should start at the bottom and collect the information from the bottom and use it for targeting, because that's apparently what they did over the last 3 days.
How do you explain the Israeli passion for assassinations?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? Going back to the 50s, the Israelis were very happy to assassinate anybody that they deemed to be a potential threat to the stability of the state of Israel. And, after the 72 Munich Olympic massacre, it took them years to hunt down every single Palestinian terrorist who was involved in that operation and kill them one at a time. Well, they've continued to do that. And the Iranian nuclear program was rather easy for them to target because many of those scientists would travel overseas for seminars, academic seminars. And the Israelis would knock on the hotel door, say, we're with Mossad, you're going to either work for us or you're going to die. And I'm going to assume some said, okay, I'll take the deal, but most others died. They're very happy. And another thing with the Israelis too, they don't have the bureaucracy that the United States has. There's no gang of 4, gang of 8 that you have to inform. There's no executive order 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. You just do it. You want to kill somebody, you just go out and kill them.